Okay, imagine this. A passion project ghosted by corporate giants.
Mm.
Then a huge comedy franchise, basically paralyzed by one massive paycheck.
Hmm.
And then this obsessive character study that involved, like, building a whole working toy store.
It sounds wild when you list them like that.
Right. This is the story of Channing Tatum's recent career roller coaster. We're going to dive deep into the projects that sort of reveal this fundamental conflict, the one every big star faces.
Exactly. We're charting his path from, let's say, peak franchise ambition to this really profound, personal, almost artistic pivot.
Welcome, everyone, to the deep dive. Today, we're cutting through the usual celebrity noise.
Yep. Our mission is to really uncover the Hollywood drama, sure, but also the resilience behind that blockbuster smile you see everywhere.
That's it. We're digging into three specific projects: the Lost Gambit movie, the stalled 23 Jump Street, and the really personal Roofman.
And taken together, they paint this incredible picture of where art clashes with commerce right now.
It really is like a triptych, isn't it? It maps out exactly where money stops the art, where bureaucracy just suffocates creativity.
And ultimately, maybe where he found his antidote to all that.
Okay, let's get into it. Starting with that dream project that became, well, kind of a nightmare. Gambit.
Oh, Gambit.
The headline that just screams out from the sources is pretty wild. The R-rated superhero thriller where mutants were having sex.
Yeah, that quote definitely grabs you. And it perfectly sums up the vision versus, the corporate reality.
Because this wasn't just a job for him, right?
No, not at all. This was Tatum's baby for, like, a decade. He was a huge fan of Remy LeBeau, the X-Men character.
It's hard-throwing Cajun.
That's the one.
Mm-hmm.
And the studio, Fox at the time, they saw him as a potential anchor for the whole next phase of X-Men movies.
But it just got stuck. Development hell, right?
Big time. You had director after director signing on and then leaving. Rupert Wyatt, Doug Liman, Gore Verbinski, all big names.
All walked away. Creative differences.
Seems like it. And here's where you see Tatum's personal stake. He and his partner, Reed Carolyn, they co-wrote the script.
Right.
And they actually pushed hard to direct it themselves. They'd lived with it for so long.
But the studio said no.
Yeah, they balked. Handing a massive superhero movie to first-time directors, they weren't willing to take that risk.
And the irony is, maybe that killed the chance to see something really different.
Totally. Because their vision, according to Tatum, was bold. It was an R-rated romantic comedy. Think Deadpool, but maybe with more swagger.
He said it was supposed to fill that same edgy space.
Exactly. And he didn't mince words about the script. He actually said, we had mutants having sex. It was wild.
Wow.
And he cared about the details, like the fashion. He insisted the costume look like, and this is a quote, this doll walked down the Paris runway, capturing that Gambit coolness.
So they had this wild script. They were getting close to making it. And then
Disney bought Fox. May 2019, the project was officially dead.
Just like that. Corporate consolidation.
Pretty much. Disney was focused on integrating the X-Men into their existing MCU, keeping that consistent, mostly family-friendly tone.
So an R-rated mutant rom-com just didn't fit the brand synergy memo.
Exactly. It got cleaned up.
Yeah.
Killed by the merger, essentially. Vision didn't matter as much as the brand.
And you can really hear how much that hurt him personally. He talks about being so traumatized.
Yeah, he invested a decade. He said he shut off my Marvel machine, like he was done with superheroes entirely.
He even said it felt like losing a friend. That's heavy for a movie role.
It really is. It goes beyond just a career setback. It sounds like it genuinely shook his faith in the whole Hollywood machine.
But then, years later, this little twist of fate happens.
Yeah, the cameo.
His surprise appearance as Gambit in Deadpool and Wolverine just this year, thanks to Ryan Reynolds, apparently.
Right. Reynolds reportedly fought to get him in there. And it wasn't just fan service, I think. It felt like a validation, maybe even a little bit of healing.
And now there are talks again with Kevin Feige.
That's the word. Renewed talks. And he's apparently slated for Avengers. Doomsday. So the passion project might live on, ironically, within the very system that crushed it initially.
It's amazing how things turn out. So Gambit's failure was, dramatic, emotional.
Definitely.
But the way his biggest comedy franchise stalled, that's almost more frustrating because it was just about, well, money. Mundane finance stuff.
Yeah, the Jump Street situation is something else entirely.
And that's not even the wildest part. Stick around, because later we'll explore how this whole journey shows that maybe real resilience for a star today isn't about the blockbuster size, but about choosing which battles, artistic or commercial, are actually worth the fight.
That financial reality you mentioned, that leads us right into the whole 23 Jump Street saga. The headline here, the sequel was just too top-heavy to even get off the ground.
Which is crazy when you think about how successful those first two movies were.
Ugh, huge hits. Critically loved, made a ton of money. 22 Jump Street actually outgrossed the first one significantly. They were kind of the definition of smart studio comedy.
And they totally leaned into that self-aware thing, that end credits sequence in 22.
Hilarious. Parodying endless sequels, medical school, culinary school, art school. They basically dared themselves to make another one after that.
So the studio's idea was a crossover.
Yep, they went big.
Yeah.
MIB 23. Merging Jump Street with Men in Black.
Wow. Okay, that's ambitious.
Super ambitious.
Yeah.
And Tatum was apparently all in. He called the script, quote, the best script that I've ever read for a third movie.
What was the idea?
Janko and Schmidt, undercover in med school, but then they somehow stumble into the Men in Black world.
I can picture it.
Right. And the visual gag was apparently great. The Jump Street guys would get these awful powder blue MIB suits because, you have to earn the black ones.
Okay, sounds funny. So why didn't it happen? Why no alien fighting Schmidt and Jenko?
Well, creatively, they kind of hit a wall first. The directors and producers involved eventually agreed the tones just didn't mesh.
How so?
Men in Black relies on that deadpan reaction to absurd stuff, right, taking aliens seriously, whereas Jump Street is just over-the-top satire.
So mixing them might ruin both.
That was the fear. They thought it might run both franchises into the ground. So the crossover idea got scrapped.
Okay, but what about just a regular 23 Jump Street? Why is that still stuck?
Well, according to Tatum himself, that comes down to, in his words, a lot of bureaucracy, kind of above-the-line stuff.
Above the line, meaning the big names. Actors, directors, producers.
Exactly, and the reporting points to one specific issue. The massive producer fee required for Neil H. Moritz.
The producer of the original films.
Right. Tatum said Moritz's fee is so large, it basically costs as much as the entire movie's budget, maybe even more, because of all the producers involved now.
Wait, the producer fee equals the budget?
That's what Tatum implied. He literally said, it's just too top-heavy, it falls over every time. And to be honest, that's what's killing it.
Wow. That's incredibly ironic, isn't it? The franchise that made fun of cynical, money-grabbing sequels gets killed by, well, cynical money stuff. Overhead costs.
It's the ultimate Hollywood irony. And it also says something bigger about the industry, I think.
Like what?
Like how hard it is now for these mid to high budget comedies to survive. Back in 2014, maybe they could absorb those huge fees. But now, in the streaming era, with tent poles needing to make $1 billion, a comedy just can't carry that kind of financial weight anymore.
So the numbers just don't work.
Seems like it. It's a symptom of a changing industry.
Okay, so you've got the creative trauma from Gambit, this soul-crushing bureaucracy with Jump Street. It makes sense that he'd look for something completely different next.
Exactly. Something maybe more pure. Which brings us to Roofman, the pivot.
If you're finding these Hollywood twists as fascinating as we are, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We've got way more stories like this coming up, including one where a certain star apparently survived on baby food for months. You don't want to miss it.
So Roofman, this film really feels like a conscious choice, doesn't it? A move towards auteur directors. Deep character work, partnering with Derek C. in France.
Who directed Blue Valentine and The Place Beyond the Pines. Intense stuff.
Very intense. And the true story Roofman is based on. It's absolutely wild. Stranger than fiction territory.
The headline basically writes itself, the nice guy criminal who lived in a Toys R Us.
I mean, yeah. It's about Jeffrey Manchester, this guy who robbed over 60 businesses, mostly McDonald's, by cutting holes in their roofs. Hence, Roofman.
But he wasn't your typical robber, right?
Not at all. He was known for being weirdly polite. He'd herd employees into freezers but do it nicely. There's that famous story where he gave his own coat to a McDonald's worker who was cold while he was robbing the place.
That's bizarrely considerate.
Right. But the part that's pure cinema is after he escapes prison.
This is the Toys R Us part.
This is it. He hides out for months inside a closed Toys R Us and a nearby Circuit City in Charlotte, surviving on baby food and junk food he found there.
No way.
And riding kids' bicycles around the aisles for exercise.
That is unbelievable. You can see why C in France would be drawn to that. He's all about realism, right?
Obsessively so. There's a story about him yelling about a prop ice cube because it didn't sound right. He creates these incredibly immersive worlds for his actors.
And for Roofman, he did something kind of nuts.
He built a full-scale working Toys R Us set, like functional. He compared it to Herzog dragging a ship over a mountain in Fitzcarraldo.
That's dedication, building a whole store.
He called it creating a sandbox for Tatum, letting him truly live in that bizarre environment Manchester inhabited.
And Tatum really connected with the guy, didn't he? The real Jeffrey Manchester.
Yeah, they spent hundreds of hours talking on the phone while Manchester was still incarcerated.
And there was one conversation that really unlocked the character for him.
Apparently so. Tatum asked Manchester what he wanted to do when he eventually got out. And Manchester said he wanted to adopt a child.
Wow.
Yeah, he wanted, in his words, a second chance of being a father and not screwing it up this time. Tatum said, hearing that vulnerability just punched me in the gut.
Because it showed the human cost, the awareness of failure.
Exactly. It wasn't about making him a hero, but showing this complex person who felt the system failed him, but who also fails himself by not realizing, as Tatum put it, that he was enough without the stealing.
The reviews seem to praise Tatum's performance, calling it charming, empathetic.
They do. He manages to make you feel for the guy. But there's also an interesting critical discussion around it. About whether the film maybe sanitizes the story a bit too much. The ethics of true crime, basically.
How so?
Some reviews pointed out that the film leaves out certain less savory details from Manchester's past, like a documented domestic disturbance call. It focuses mainly on the quirky, nice guy robber aspects.
Which raises the question.
Right, what's the point of focusing only on the charming parts and ignoring the darker stuff when you're telling a true story about a criminal? It's a valid question for you, the listener, to think about.
Definitely something to consider. But even with that critique, it feels like Roofman was exactly what Tatum needed creatively, like an antidote.
Absolutely. A project where he could prioritize depth, collaboration, the art of it, over just, commercial factors.
And it's interesting how the character's struggle against a system he feels is rigged kind of mirrors Tatum's own recent fights against Hollywood bureaucracy, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. That theme of a guy trying to operate outside a system that feels stacked against them. There's definitely some resonance there with his experiences on Gambit and Jump Street. It feels very personal.
If you love getting these behind-the-scenes stories and understanding the forces shaping Hollywood, seriously, hit subscribe now. You won't want to miss what we dive into next week.
So when you look at these three projects together, Gambit, 23 Jump Street, Roofman, you see this really clear arc, right?
Totally. Gambit shows the cost of that personal passion when it runs up against corporate control.
23 Jump Street shows how financial bureaucracy, just sheer overhead, can completely paralyze even a successful franchise.
And Roofman. Well, that feels like finding salvation in artistic authenticity. It's the refuge he took when the big machines let him down.
Yeah. And his journey kind of suggests that for a major star today, maybe true resilience isn't just about landing the next billion-dollar blockbuster.
What is it about, then?
Maybe it's found in deliberately choosing which fight matters most next. Is it the artistic one, the commercial one, the personal one? That seems to be the crossroads he's navigating.
You've been listening to The Deep Dive, where we uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.